And I got Ryan.
Okay, I believe we are streaming on YouTube.
And for some reason, I cannot get my camera to pick me up on this laptop.
Okay, Laura, I think I got it on this computer now. I'm just waiting to get, here I am. Okay, I think I'm okay now. Okay, can you hear me? All right, now I got to shut the other one off. Is that something I'm doing? I hope not.
So Laura's working on getting us set up on YouTube. She probably has most of us muted right now, so that as she's getting everything processed, you'll see that you have the little red mic at the bottom of your image. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're muted on your end. It's muted on the host end. She's trying to get a few things together, so just give her a minute or two, and we should be ready to go. And then she will get everybody unmuted, and we can get started.
All right. Oh.
So everybody should be able to unmute themselves. And we are live on YouTube. Yay.
Hey.
So if you have something you want to contribute or you're ready to speak, there should be in the bottom left of your screen, you have your video and microphone icon. If it has a red line through it, you should be able to click on it, and that will allow you to have audio. And then if you have a cell phone, I think you actually have to touch on the icon. So it still looks like all the members are muted, Laura. I don't know if that's on that, not on the administrative. They can't unmute themselves, Laura.
Okay. I'm getting really bad feedback.
So it looks like everyone that's on an iPhone looks like they're unmuted, but we still have, okay. All right, looks like everyone
now. Okay.
How
Good.
about me? How about me? Dave Huff.
You're
We got
on,
you.
Dave.
Hey,
We've got everybody.
hey.
We've got, so the only ones we're showing muted right now are Bob Wunderlich and Andy Brown. And now Tony is muted, and now George is muted.
Okay. Well, thank you all for taking time and being accommodating with the combination of the schedule and the virtual nature of the meeting. You know, obviously these are unprecedented times, and we do have to continue moving forward in a lot of areas, and we have a pretty full agenda, as we did not have one in February, and we did not have one in March. So with this, obviously it's on YouTube, and we're gonna just do a virtual roll call. I'm just gonna say who I see as present. Or Tim, you want to just, are you documenting these? So
Yeah, I have everybody marked who we have on video, and then I have those that are marked. We have Bob Tuckett we have a box, but we have no video. So I have that marked for the minutes. The only commissioner not present is Herman Metz. So we have a quorum, and we are ready to roll.
Okay. All right. Has everybody reviewed, and I know it's been a while, the minutes from January 22nd, 2020?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a motion to approve, or any discussion?
I
Approved.
approved.
So
So I'm gonna take that as Tom Pelican as a first, and then Dave Huff as a second, and then just for our purposes for the meeting, when we ask all those in favor, just raise your hand or something so that we can see everybody is in favor.
Cool.
We still have a few people that the audio is off, and with too many people all at once, we're getting some feedback. So
if you're not on video, you say approved. If you're on video, if you're for it, raise your hand. If you're not for it, go like this. Okay? We're going to come up with our rules here, right? So all those in favor of approving the minutes from January 22nd, 2020. And Bob? Okay. Any opposed? All right. The minutes are approved. So before we get into our new business, I wanted to bring things back from a high level, obviously, and just give a little quick update on the city. Bob Shelton is manning the city, and the Public Works Department is operating as normal. They're operating virtually. There's half the staff are in the office and the other half are not, and they're rotating. So we're keeping some level of redundancy across the staff. And from a financial standpoint, the Pam Wrights is going through and analyzing sales tax information. So everything, they're doing a good contingency planning and going through and being very proactive. So I wanted to kind of start with that. The police, the EMS are all doing their job and helping us from a city standpoint, protect us and keep us safe. So we appreciate all of that. The next area is with regards to what we're going to be going over today, is we want to really be looking at the new business from a substance standpoint, and the financial part or the financial part. Whether we fund it on schedule that we had or not will be determined on a future basis with regards to city management and then the board as they see fit with regards to projects and just overall funding sources as they're making adjustments with the budget. So each department has gone through with the mayor and Bob Shelton and Pam and gone through, just budget options from a finance standpoint of timing, reduction, and knowing that we're going to a lot of our revenue comes from sales tax. So as we move forward, we're just looking at the substance of the new business items and taking it from there. And then if we approve it, it will still go through the process. It just will be a timing issue on when it actually happens. Anything else you wanted to add, Tim or Tim?
No, I think you hit the mark. Like you said, we're trying to just get things shelf ready. So if we are able to get back to some level of normal or regular budget process, we have things ready to go. We didn't want to wait, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then try to scramble to get things moving if we had the budget for them. So again, as Ryan said, we're gonna look at the substance of the items for the commission, make the recommendations, and then once we have budget available and we're comfortable with the impacts that the coronavirus are going to have, we can be ready to pull the trigger or wait. If we have to defer to 2021, we'll do that as well.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners?
No,
Nope.
Nope. We're going to dive right in. So let's go with new business line A, Hart Engineering Supplemental Agreement for 1120 Westmore, SWP. Tim, dive into that.
Yeah, so we had a public meeting with the Westmore subdivision at their annual subdivision meeting. We went over the existing project that mainly focused on the east side of the subdivision. As a result of that subdivision meeting, we had information from a property owner on the west side of the cul-de-sac that expressed there were some stormwater issues or concerns that they had for their portion of the property. So we went out, evaluated, and determined that while we were in the subdivision, we should expand the scope and get everything done at once. So the additional surveying, design work, and permitting is $7,821, slightly over 10% of the overall original contract. But we feel it's warranted and should be something we address while we're in doing construction.
This is on page 5 of your packet to start. Any questions in the discussion?
When did this start?
So the project itself was originally identified in 2012.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This is an old
Long way.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2012 when the project was identified. The engineering for the project began in 2019. And then the additional work that we were going to have done and are having done basically started with the additional surveying work that happened January, February. So again, this is a continuation of the existing project.
Okay. You should be able to mute your conversation by simply hitting the space bar. That prevents anybody from interrupting what you're talking about. But it looks to me like if you hit the space bar in these circumstances, the host has to start you over again. So I don't know that anybody wants to try that, but the better way to run the meeting is to use the space bar. That way you stay quiet until you want to talk.
Laura, do you have anything on that? You're on mute.
I just hit the space bar and I had my video stopped, so it resumed my video, not my mute. Let me try having video up and hitting unmuting myself with the space bar.
You should be able to go on and off with the space bar. Cuts out all the background noise.
Okay, that does seem to be working. That's a good trick.
Okay, fine by me.
I just want to
I'm
say
gonna
it's great.
spacebar out of this.
I just wanted to say it's great to have the young
The tech knows.
board members helping us, the tech wizards helping
All
us.
right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah,
No tech wizard.
well, we did a practice meeting on Thursday, and I would say that Dave Huff, Tom Pelican, and Bob Wunderlich were the superstars. So yeah, they were
Yeah.
showing us all how to do it. So.
That's great. All right. All right. Back to the 1120 Westmore, basically addition to our change order. Any other discussion?
It's obvious they didn't put a breakdown together of their line item of tasks and cost in terms of man hours and the cost for those hours.
Yes, that's correct. We had a number of the additional items that are listed in the proposal, but they did not break down the numbers of hours to use for each individual category. So you can see in the memo there are the additional items, but hour per item was not broke down. Just an overall cost for the work to be done.
God, I wished I could have got away with that when I was quoting work for engineering.
Is that something we want to ask for?
I mean, so the additional, I mean, that's up to this commission if you guys would like Hart Engineering to provide a individual breakdown of per hour per task. That's more in line with doing so. The staff was comfortable with the scope and the dollar amount for what we presented for them to expand. That this was in line with their original scope fee. So we were comfortable bringing it to the commission.
It's
Bob,
not
do you
just gonna.
feel? Sorry, I was going to ask Bob if you feel that that's a reasonable amount for the incremental work.
It's hard to say, Tony, but for that amount, I wouldn't go back and sweat it with it. Quite honestly, it's
Not that much.
just we ought to
It's
have
a fairly
all.
small amount.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably fine.
Any other questions or discussion items? So, all right, well, is there a motion to approve this?
Bob Tuckett moves to approve it.
Hold on, actually, is it
Oh, you put your hand
Bob
up.
Wunderlich put his hand up first?
The reason I put it up is because the mute isn't working properly.
Yeah, no, that's what I saw. Sorry, I'm trying to. So, do you have any questions, Bob?
No, I'm good now. I'm back in the game.
Okay.
Tom?
Nope, I'm fine.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve?
So we had a first motion from Bob Tuckett.
Okay.
Need a second?
Second, Tom.
I see Dave Huff is second too.
Whoever.
You have a question or you voting yes?
No, don't we just put the hand up for yes? Oh, wait a minute. What's the yes? The hand up too?
I'll vote that just in a second. So,
We gotta get our
Thumbs
signal.
up, thumbs down.
yes, thumbs up, thumbs down. There you
So
go.
Okay.
I've got a first from Bob Tuckett. I've got a second from Tom Pelican.
Okay. So all those in favor of approving the Hart Engineering supplemental agreement for 1120 Westmore SWP. All right, we got everything. Bob, Tuckett, you need to say yes or no. He's muted. Laura, can you get him off mute, Bob Tuckett?
Yes.
All right, yes. All right. Any opposed?
Okay, we're good now. So when we do each of the votes, since Bob Tuckett does not have video, we can do the thumbs up from everybody else, and then Bob will have to do his voice vote.
Okay. Thank you, guys. And as we continue working through it, we'll get a rhythm. We'll get a rhythm.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, so moving on to item B. It is the construction contract from A. Ehlers for interior remodel, and this will start on page 7 of your packet. So the Public Works Commission to review and recommend to the Board of Aldermen a contract with A. Ehlers Construction in the amount of $98,000 and $98,030.93, and authorize the city administrator or his designee to issue change orders up to 20% of the contract value. Funds are currently available for this project in the 2020 Capital Improvement Fund. A bid went out to 5 in that packet. Tim, you want to talk to this, or Tim Gregg or Tim Rand?
Sure.
Yeah,
So
go ahead, Tim.
So we bid out the project. We received 5 bids. A. Ehlers Construction has done work for the city before. They were in charge of our ADA upgrades for our public restrooms. We were satisfied with the work they performed. We had some other incidental items, some exterior metal work, some work at the firehouse as well that was in that contract. So this is a budgeted item in the capital improvement fund. We'll see another item farther down the agenda for furniture that was also budgeted. And between this and the furniture, we are well within our budget. I believe we're total somewhere in the range of 40 grand under our budgeted amount for the items. This will include complete renovation of all administrative offices in the police department, the detective bureau, sergeant's offices, lieutenant offices, chief's office, Lori's office, the police clerk, and then as well as our conference room remodel in the back of the office area. So that will be included in all these upgrades.
So open discussion, questions? No?
Pretty,
Tim, are they aware that we've got some piping running in the chief's office and that back wall out to outside condensing units for the data room cooling?
Yes, so that area is not going to be impacted by the remodel. That built-in bookcase shelf area is going to stay. So
Okay.
none of that condensing line or power lines for the IT room condensing unit will be impacted.
Yep, just didn't need a surprise.
Yep.
Bob, good question. That's good historical knowledge.
that's it. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve. It looks like we're under budget and I feel that it's solid.
We have a second?
Second motion.
Dave Huff, all right. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, all right. Everyone's in favor?
Yep.
We're moving forward, all right.
Good.
Thank you for that recommendation. All right, so we're gonna go to the item C, which is the firehouse HVAC upgrades, which is page 41 in your packet. So basically, staff is requesting the Public Works Commission review and recommend approval of a PO with IFS in the amount of $13,256. Funds are currently available for this project in the 2020 Capital Improvements Fund. So Tim, you want to get a little more detail on this?
Yeah, so as part of the 2020 budget, we looked at some of our HVAC that may need to be adjusted. We did this in 2019 for the municipal center. This is to update the system controls. We're updating the software platform from a 2010 version to a current version. It's going to allow us more efficiencies, better control over the space, as well as the software upgrades. We are going to do some damper control upgrades that will allow us to better exchange the air, use fresh air more often, and help us address some of our struggles in the building where we have excessive condensation. So in this building in particular, the firefighters have control over most of the space temps. And in the summer when it's 95, 96 degrees out, they like to have it 66 degrees inside. So we want to try to control that a little better and help be more efficient and help reduce some of the struggles that we've had in the past.
Good luck.
Tim, let me ask you a question. What is that auto matrix, just for my own education?
So the auto matrix system, we have a control system for all of the VAVs. The
what?
VAVs, they're the individual valve controls for each space. It's connected into our chillers and our boilers, so we can basically monitor everything that's happening with the heating and cooling system. If there is an alarm, if there's something that's not working properly, if we have say in our chiller, if we have one of the 4 compressors go down, we'll get an alarm that will notify us. If we have something with the flow in the boiler, we'll get that notification. And it allows us then to enter into each space, see what the airflow is, what the supply temperature of the water is for the cooling system, and allow us to make adjustments.
Wow.
Pretty.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yep.
Tim, did IFS install it?
Yes.
Good. Was that Bob Tuckett?
Yeah. Yeah, IFS put it in before they were IFS when we remodeled the firehouse.
Okay.
This is an upgrade to most of that control system, giving you a lot more flexibility and linearity in it. Been a few years since we worked on that firehouse.
Yeah. So, and IFS provides us with all of our software and control support. They handle, they have a remote access where they're also able to monitor and make adjustments to our system if there's an alarm or a catastrophic failure. So they're able, they have, again, the access to come in and say if we have an issue on a Saturday or Sunday, they can access the site remotely, determine if it's a mechanical failure, operator error, and make adjustments then.
Okay. Other questions?
About a year ago, we knew this was coming, at least I did anyway.
Oh, this is the companion to what they did at City Hall with the upgrade of the controls and everything there last year, isn't it, Tim?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
Any other questions or discussion?
So I have a. Thanks.
Andy, you got do you have are you the 576, Andy? Alden, got it. You either have to mute the computer audio or your phone, one of the two.
well, if no one has a question, I will move we accept their proposal.
Second.
Bob and Dave, Bob Tuckett and Dave Huff.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at my screen. I heard you guys. Okay. All those in favor, thumbs up.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Seeing everybody. Bob said yes. All right.
All right.
Recommendation moves forward. Good. So the next section is going to be our code amendments. And so I'm going to give, so these start on page, let's see, page 46 of your packet. We go through the International Building Code, Mechanical Code, Residential Code, Fire Code, Existing Building Code, and Property Maintenance Code. We're going to go through each one of them independently, but we'd like to, potentially, unless we have an issue with one of them, vote on them in mass. Okay, so we'll do one vote. Is that okay, Tim and Tim?
Yes.
Okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
At this point here, we're seeing how we're coming in line with the international code, right?
Yes.
Okay, how does this affect then what the Board of Aldermen and so forth have been doing with regard to trees and stuff like that?
It doesn't affect it.
Yeah, the building code is separate from the zoning code, Dave. So the tree preservation, the any of the stormwater improvements that we had are completely separate from this. They don't cross over.
Okay.
So it doesn't impact them. It doesn't affect them. All this is bringing our construction building codes, property maintenance code, fire code, mechanical code up to the current version that is out, which is 2018, and probably in the next 6 months or so will already be to 2021 or the 21 version of the building code. So
Okay, I read it with that in mind, but I just wanted to make sure that because that's all, we went through all this trouble to straighten out what we were doing wrong, meaning the Grand Glaze and all that kind of stuff, and the trails and so forth. And I just wanted to make sure that that's covered somewhere in the whole document.
So they have to meet both zoning and building code regulations. It's not one or the other one supersedes each other. There's zoning regulations because that's what the community wants, but there's also safety regulations, but they have to marry at some point, and so they have to meet both regulations.
Things like mechanically, these upgrade what the ventilation requirements are and some of the issues, again, on improving what is supposed to be done in the design of mechanical, i.e. HVAC systems. The plumbing code amends some of the issues and brings up-to-date materials as well as allowances on minimum flow on devices, flow rates, efficiencies of equipment. The electrical will do the same thing as in terms of materials and means and method for installing things. So it doesn't get into the things you were worried about, David.
Well, I'm also on chapter 3, the drywall.
Well, you're not kidding.
Yeah, they talk about, the 3/8, 5/8 requirement was deleted, and we didn't delete that.
That's what staff is proposing at this time.
That's what? I didn't get that.
Go to a 1/2-inch drywall?
That's ridiculous. On 24-inch centers?
Well, it's a direct, yeah, you got all sorts of things there. We went through a lot of, when we went into, when we became a city in 1983, we put a moratorium on all building, and we had all the builders come in and say, we want to go to 1/2-inch drywall. And we said, no, we're not going to do that. And all those other things that differentiated us from the standard code practices in the county. And I sure don't want to undo that.
I agree with you.
We had a discussion about this last time. Do you guys recall that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Tony still there? Did Tony have an opinion on that?
I was not at the last meeting, so I am kind of reading through this right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. As I'm reading through this, anything that's in red with script through it, that is deletions to the code. Is that correct?
Right.
That's what it says.
Yeah, so what you're gonna see is you have 3 documents for each of the 6 sections of code. So we have the International Building Code, International Mechanical Code, International Residential Code, Fire Code, Existing Building Code, and then Property Maintenance Code. The first document that you see is the what the changes are from the 2015 code that we adopted versus the 2018 code, which are being presented. You then have you have the other 2 documents, which are the ordinance that would go to the board, and then other supporting information. Yeah, the second one is the ordinance, and then you have the codification. So this is the building officials, as well as Tim G, did a review, and this is their recommendations to move forward with the code. We have Dave Phipps, who is the fire marshal, who's here, that can answer questions or speak on some of the choices or decisions that were made, as well as Laura or Tim G.
Yeah, the 5/8 drywall, I think we're the only city that's actually doing that. Everybody is using the 1/2 inch. So
how about Ladue?
Ladue is 1/2 inch.
You sure of that?
As a builder, I don't, it adds a couple cents per square foot on the labor cost, as well as, I guess, the labor and the material cost. You're probably looking at 3 to 4 cents a square foot on a typical 5,000 square foot house. You're talking, there's probably 25 to 30,000 square feet of drywall in one of those houses. So 3 to 4 cents doesn't translate. You're talking maybe $1,000 to $1,500 more. What I see where it creates some difficulty is 5/8 is not standard in residential construction, 1/2 inches. So when you talk door jams, window jams, you have to special order, 1/8 inch thicker for an exterior wall, 1/4 inch thicker for an interior door. So those are the areas where you run up the cost. So it's not just that $1,200, but in the grand scheme of things, there's some additional costs. But I think as long as I can remember, and as long as everybody has remembered, Town and Country has either required 2 layers of, was it 3/8?
Right, double drywall.
Or 5/8 inch drywall. So I think pretty much the standard that anybody that's been building for a while, who knows this area, is that Town and Country requires that, and it hasn't been that big of an issue. Now, the nice thing with the 5/8 is it does provide additional fire protection. In addition, it results in a stiffer wall. So I don't have a problem with it. And I think if you were to introduce a 1/2 inch drywall, it would certainly be welcomed by builders because they could shave a little bit of labor and cost. But on the same token, as I think everybody's so accustomed to it that it's not a huge nuisance or unbearable.
So real quick, and only because we have the 6 agenda items, and I'm sure Dave or Laura can jump in. So you have some. So as Tony, as you said, for the International Building Code, when you're building a new building and you have the builders that are coming into town, and they're aware of that, what you I think probably run into some issues is the residential code or the existing building code, if they're doing a room addition or some smaller remodel, that you'll have contractors that are not builders, that are not building in town on a regular basis, and there becomes some confusion, or and not that I'm saying that needs to be a determining factor whether contractors are confused or not, but I think the goal of the building department was an attempt to to try to keep some of these things more consistent. I think the fire marshal has stated that the change in fire rating from 1/2 inch to 5/8 is not significant to the point where it changes the fire rating. So, and I don't know if I don't want to overstep my bounds by saying that, but I think he can confirm that or deny it. And then, so again, with the 2018 codes, I think there was a general push to be somewhat more consistent with the presented codes from the International Code Council for continuity and being clarity to the contractors.
Are
And I-
you?
Yeah, but that wasn't the issue back in 1983. That was never the issue brought up. We agree with that. What we wanted to do was we come closer to a plaster wall from a sound point of view, and the flexure in the wall there and so forth. That's why we didn't allow exposed poured concrete basement walls above grade. And we had to have real chimneys and not the metal kind and things of that nature there. But these were all aesthetics to quality because of the quality we wanted to maintain.
You also have additional or newer requirements as far as energy goes as well. So you're doing more insulation and more protection that gives you some additional stability and or quality in your work product versus what was being done or required in 1983. So that's just an observation.
Yeah, but one of the things you notice when you go in Town and Country, you do not see basement walls. You see exterior walls go to ground level, they're covered. It makes a big difference when you drive through a neighborhood. And that's what we are trying to protect in Town and Country. I realize that this is okay from a fire and safety point of view, but that's not why we made these changes and stuck to it when we went ahead and put all these things into print back in 83 to 87. Well,
Laura, I don't know if you can jump in here when he's talking about exposed basements, but I'm assuming that that's still going to be covered under ARB and planning and zoning, what the architectural finish on the exterior of the building is going to be versus what the building code is going to require.
Yes, that's something that's more towards the aesthetic. So it's something that we're going to add to the architecture review amendments with the bringing the not having that exposed wall and then on the exterior, and then as well as chimneys having the prefab only allowed in the rear of the building and not to be seen from the front.
My only concern is that the interior is fine. I look at what we may be giving away in terms of fire rating between the residence and the garage.
Amen.
We've given away 5/8 or type X drywall and fire ratings there that I guess that is my principal concern. I mean, interior walls, how you protect that house from the garage and the garage from the house is probably the one that bothers me the most.
Now that's still a requirement, and Dave Phipps, you can jump in anytime you want, but it still has that the 5/8 for the garage.
This is Dave Phipps. The separation between a house and a garage under the IRC and the IFC and the IBC still yet requires that separation with 5/8 type X drywall. So, and you still have to have the correct door and correct ceiling separation if there's living space above it. So this requirement going to follow the IRC half-inch drywall in the inside of a home, doesn't change the separation requirements. You still have that requirement.
Okay, I guess I saw a lot of red lines running through something that is part of building planning chapter 3, and it looks like we lined out a whole bunch of those requirements.
Well, that what you're seeing is something that we've always put into the amendments, and it's not reflected in the actual books, in the codes. What Fire Marshal Phipps was saying is that this is a requirement actually in the International Residential Code, Building Code, and Fire Code. So if it's already reflected in the code books, why do we need to have it in our amendments? Now, if that's something that you guys want to continue to do, and the next round of books, the 2021, doesn't have that reflected in there, then that's an amendment that we'd add back in.
Okay, now if it's in the other, I'm good with that. I just don't want to see that go away.
Right.
So I want to just do a quick check-in. So is this something, Tim and Tim, that is timely that we need to get recommendations to the board, or is this something that as a commission we've had an initial dialogue, we're remote, we could give it a little more thought and bring it back?
Yeah, I just wanted to add this before this goes for final approval. It's going to be sitting in the clerk's office for 90 days for a 90-day review, and then once we finish those 90 days, then we'll take it to the Board of Aldermen for final approval. So there's plenty of time.
Question on the bigger picture, I guess. If you read B 102.5, decisions and powers of the Board of Adjustment.
What page are you on, Dave?
I don't have it. I don't know what actual page, because I pulled a copy off, but if you can find paragraph B 102.5, decisions and powers of the Board of Adjustment.
Which code are you looking in, Dave?
It looks like it's on page 54 of the PDF. Bottom paragraph.
Here, yeah, and it goes into, I can read it as far as that goes. It tells about
Page 54.
Page 54 or page what?
Yeah,
Page 54.
Plumbing systems.
Page 54. Okay, I don't have. I mean, I'd have to screen it up.
Okay, so you're talking about Appendix B, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. But I just want to make sure. I just pulled the paragraph out because this is one area also that caught my attention, because it says in there, town and country preserve and uphill consider the following factors: aesthetic appearance, cost benefit ratio, all this kind of stuff and things of that nature there. So it goes to the quality issue, and as far as that goes. And so does that in conflict with then saying that we're going to do international things that don't meet this, or what? I don't understand the relationship with B 102.5 that the Board Adjustment can do to make changes. Is that changes to the code?
No, it would be changes to an individual application if a contractor, developer, what have you, doesn't want to follow the code as interpreted by the building official or the fire marshal. So it wouldn't change the code overall. It would change that one particular requirement for that project,
So
whatever it might be. But it would have to be I mean.
So
how does that change in terms of minimum requirements?
Dave, that's not redlined. That's currently in our 2015 building code, because you have to give an applicant or a contractor the ability to appeal a decision from the city. So whenever you go to the Board of Adjustment, you have to present a hardship. So if they feel that the code official or fire marshal's interpretation of the code is different than what they want to do, there has to be an appeal process for them to be able to to try to get approval or exception from that. That way, the fire marshal and code official are not the end all be all. I make the decision and the buck stops here. It gives an applicant an option to move forward or to appeal a decision. And that's the body they would go to appeal. So if you're saying, well, the contractor wants to go and build a house and they have a hardship and says, well, it's going to cost too much and I only want to put 1/4-inch drywall on my interior walls and I need an exception approval for that, the Board of Adjustment is probably not, they're not going to look at that and say, okay, you have a legitimate hardship, we're going to grant you the variance. So they're no different than if I need an unusual shaped lot, I need a variance from a side yard, front yard, rear yard, an interpretation of the code, that's their ability to appeal. But it's currently in our code now, in the 2015 code that we're operating under right now, which is why there's no red line.
Okay, I see the very last sentence in there says failure to secure 4 concurring votes shall be deemed the confirmation of the decision of the code official. So that kind of explains just what you said.
The Board of Adjustment is made up of 5 members, and in order to get a variance, you need 4 of the 5 members to grant approval or to vote in your favor. So that's why it's so you need 80% of the Board of Adjustment to vote in your favor for any variance, and that's all this language is.
Oh, okay, all right.
So commissioners,
the other question I have then is that we went through a lot of changes very recently to cover a lot of oversights and mistakes we made and things like that in essentially the site work and so forth, and tree removal and all that kind of stuff there. So what we're talking about here doesn't have anything to do with that today.
Correct.
Okay, so we're not undoing something because it's in another part of what, is
correct. You're
okay.
correct.
We want to make sure we didn't lose all that hard work.
We're not going backwards.
I think we're just trying to stay current with the most recent codes.
Yeah. So commissioners, I want to do a check-in. So basically I see kind of 2 paths in our virtual environment here. I see 2 paths forward. One is if we're comfortable moving forward, we can go ahead and vote on it. If we still have questions, I think we could probably facilitate this in another manner that will be more encompassing and we could it'd be a little more work on the public works staff and team, but we could email or call our questions in. They can compile them in a an overall document that they can send back to us so we can all go on the same page and be prepared to vote at the next meeting if we need more time on this. This is important, and we haven't done this since 15. It's we're adopting 18 in 2020, and this manages our future of construction and obviously all different code for vendors coming in. So where are people more lining? Are they ready to vote? If you're ready to kind of vote, raise your hand. If you'd like to continue to move, continue the matter till next meeting, raise your hand.
So just to piggyback on Tim G's comments from earlier about the 90-day. Once we get a recommendation from the commission, that's when our 90 days would start. Obviously, if the commission isn't comfortable moving forward today, we should wait and answer more questions or look further into it. But we would definitely want to make a motion to put it on the next agenda and meet in May, because then we're still 90 days out before we could take it to the board. That's another 30 days before the board would approve, and then the codification of the code. So we were hoping or looking to try to get it done in the 2020 cycle. only because, again, as I said, they're currently working on the 2021 building code, and we'd like to get this in place for a little while before we start that process.
So this is, over 100 pages of code that needs to be reviewed, and there's enough questions to where myself, I feel more comfortable continuing this till May, knowing that our goal would be to have a recommendation or change in edits in May that they can put on staff for 90 days and after that can continue. So thoughts, everybody?
Sounds good. That sounds fair.
Okay.
I agree with that. It'll give us some time to digest.
Yep.
I just got a question. Did we want to start the 90 days and work within that 90-day time frame, or just push it off and continue it to next meeting?
Yeah, Tim,
No, because we have to have the either approved or the recommended approved
The 90. Yeah.
amended code to start the 90 days. So if there's something that the commission, so like if we're starting the clock now and the commission comes back in 30 days and says, well, the drywall's a stickler, we want to put the 5/8 back in, I think that starts our clock all over again, because those are our amendments that will have to go with the code books to be available for the public and the contractors to be able to view.
Yeah. So here's my request. My request is review these again in the near future. Get your questions to Tim, Laura, the fire marshal, Dave, get the questions in. You can do them either call or you can email them in, and then we'll get an answers to all the questions. So everyone will be able to see other people's questions and the answers to them. So it's, the dialogue is still happening. It's just it's on paper. So then we can be prepared for the next meeting to really look and move it forward. Bob, did you have something?
I have a question. I spent a considerable amount of time trying to decipher this over the last couple of days, and I still have the same question. What you've deleted, where did you replace it? I mean, I've been looking, I got this right here in front of me on my computer, and I see so many items that have been deleted, lined out, okay? What I can't, for example, when you change the international existing building code from 215 to 218, you've lined out a whole bunch of material. Then below that is an ordinance. What I can't find is where you replaced what you lined out, or did you?
Well, in a lot of instances, it was already in the code. So so we're not repetitive. We took that out, but that's not for every case. And Laura, you can jump in anytime. But if it was already in the code, we didn't say it twice, so it was taken out. And
correct. It's some of these are repetitive, as in they're already mentioned in the actual code books. The overall building code is what allows building in town and country. You don't get a permit for it. You don't get an existing building permit. You get a building permit. The only exception to that would be a mechanical permit. That's a code that should stand kind of on its own. However, it still relates back to building permit, a building permit. As far as some of the deletions, they're already in the actual code books themselves, already referenced, or it's something that staff felt didn't need to be in there anymore, and we should just rely on what the International Code Council has passed down as regulations.
Could I make a suggestion that maybe we go through and just say covered under existing code, or something that staff recommendation? That way we have a delineation between what is staff recommendation versus what is existing?
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah. And Laura, I was also going to recommend after this meeting is sending out a copy of just the code, taking it out of the packet and just sending that for review as a document by itself, potentially breaking them into individual documents if it's helpful.
I could do that. Yeah.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay. So, just looking at the overall, we still have some other agenda items. So we're going to move to continue, or I guess we're going to continue this in May. Do I need to vote, Tim, or?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to continue, and then we can do a first and second, and have all those in favor.
I'll make a first.
Tony, is there a second to continue to to May 2020?
Yes, Bob Tuckett.
I got George or Bob. Either one. There we go.
Give it to George.
Okay. So we will continue that, and then just some next steps out of that is we'll be sending you the code by itself outside of the packet for review, so it'll be a little easier to look at page numbers and deal with it from that standpoint. And we'll see how we can make changes or those documented changes, notes to those documented changes. My request of you commissioners is to review it, get back questions, I'd say within a reasonable time, maybe the end of the month. So then they have time to adequately prepare and comment back. So we have that other week to review before our next meeting. Is that fair enough?
Sounds
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. All right, so we're going to move on to agenda item E, crack ceiling contract sweetens. I just got to get back to the page real quick.
Page 146.
146. Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, so this is staff's requesting Public Works Commission to review and recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen a contract with Sweetens Concrete LLC Services LLC in the amount of $26,780 and authorize the city administrator or his designee to issue change orders up to 10% of the contract value. Funds are currently available in this project in the 2020 road fund. There are 3 different contractors that bid on this. I'm not sure. Tim, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so in March of 2018, we did the bid opening for crack sealing. This is an annual maintenance project that we do. We divide the city into sections or quadrants, and we've done this annually. This helps lengthen the life of our asphalt and concrete streets, prevents moisture from penetrating and deteriorating our infrastructure. So we have budgeted and planned this year is completely in Ward 1, the public streets in Ward 1. We received 3 bids. One of the bids was rejected because it did not comply with the requirements for the bid opening. As you can see in the memo, it's got the PLM with a line struck through it. And then we have the other 2 bids. 4 or 5 years that we've done the crack sealing project, Sweetens has been the awarded contractor every year, and we have been satisfied with their work product.
You vetted this, I assume, because there's quite a difference between the
Price.
2 legitimate bidders.
Yeah.
That's correct. And historically, every year, Sweetens is anywhere between 30 and 40,000 lower than the second lowest bidder. And that's been consistent since, like I said, 2015.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's a contractor that is just looking for keep his guys going in the fall when it's cold and most of the other work isn't going. But this has been a consistent price per square foot since 2015.
And you're happy with the product delivered?
We've been satisfied with the product. Again, it comes down to more of staff controlling the window in which the work is done. You need cold and you need dry. So if you don't have both of those and you give notice to proceed, it's going to affect the end product. So that's what we try to focus on.
Sounds
Any other
good.
discussion? Go ahead,
Sounds
Tom.
good. No,
Okay, do we have a motion to recommend and approve?
I'll make approval.
Motion by Tom, do we have a second?
Second
Second
by
by
Tony.
All those in favor, thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes.
Bob said
Aye.
yes. Dave, there's Dave. All right, everybody's there, all approved?
Yep.
So that is approved. All right, move into the next one, which is page 173. Pavement striping contract, America's Parking Remarking. Staff is recommending the Public Works Commission review and recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen, a contract with America's Parking Remarking in the amount of $50,115 and authorize the city administrator as designated to issue change orders up to 10% of the contract value. Funds are currently available for this project in the 2020 fund. Tim?
So this is what I would normally call an annual maintenance project. We did defer pavement striping last year due to budget constraints. So since roughly 2016, prior to that, St. Louis County offered the service to municipalities, and most municipalities contracted with St. Louis County for their pavement striping and or restriping. After a county's decision to get out of the striping maintenance and the signal maintenance business, most municipalities that utilize St. Louis County had to go to contractors. We have a list of very few contractors that offer this service. We reach out to those contractors annually with the bid package and typically only get 2 to 3 responses. America's Parking Remarking has done our striping before, and we have been satisfied with their work, and it is consistent with pricing we've received.
Okay. That's kind of a no-brainer.
Yep.
Dave there. Dave, you there?
Okay, I'm back again. My battery's getting low.
Okay.
What about the phone?
All right.
All right.
Any questions, discussion with regards to the street striping, pavement striping? No?
No.
Anybody have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve, Bob.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Okay, for all those in favor, it's a thumbs up.
Yes.
All right, and Bob said yes, so everybody approved. So
Okay.
moving forward, thank
That's
you.
easy. Yep.
Okay, so we have one more agenda item. It is the police department furniture. You know, as we discussed earlier, this has been budgeted, and this is page. There we go. Starts on page. I'm still not done there. Anybody have the page?
209.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, staff's requesting the Public Works review and recommended approval of a PO with Bradford Systems. Does not have an amount in it, Tim?
So the PO, I should have updated that memo. I apologize. The PO amount is going to be on the page 211. It's $117,095.53. Bradford Systems is an approved vendor through the Master Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchasing Agreement, which is vetted out by the state. It allows us to select a contractor on that list to provide us furniture. So we do have, which we will have at some point, the breakdown between the conference room and all the PD sections. Those are all in the 2020 budget sheet on page 2010 and 2011. I again apologize for not updating that document. We have utilized Bradford Systems for our previous remodels. In 2016, we did the PD squad room. They provided the furniture. 2017, we did the admin remodel in the municipal center. So our courts, finance, and city clerk. And then in 2019, we did the development office remodel and got the new furniture and the space-saving modular file system that we have in now. So we've been pleased with the product that they provide, and these attached diagrams and or drawings are for all of the offices, both in the conference room and then all of the PD offices when we do the remodel to refurnish them as well.
What does Strive and Voyant mean on the back of the chairs? Is that the brand?
Where are you seeing that at?
VOYANT is on the conference room chairs.
Yeah, so that's the brand of the chair.
Yeah.
So that's the brand of the chair?
Yes. So if you go into the office, you see torsion.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah. So the for the conference room, we wanted to go with something more professional than what we usually would have in a task chair or an office chair in the office. So
Just curious.
That's the brand. And then we do have separate line item B on the budget sheet for the Ergo Force chairs. Those are specifically designed for police officers. They need a little more room and the adjustable arms when they have their utility belts with their guns and tasers on if they're sitting in their office. So those chairs will be their work chairs specifically designed for that purpose.
Is this all
Cut back their donuts.
Was this price instituted through some type of competitive bid process, or is this just one bid and we're taking it?
Yeah, so they go through the Master Intergovernmental Cooperative Purchasing Agreement, the NIPA. So they provide pricing to the state, and they're awarded as a selected contractor. And once you go through the state bidding process, you select that contractor, and then they provide the pricing based on what they submitted in their packet.
Okay, so it is one of these systems where once a contractor is selected, because they've already been vetted by the state, you have to accept their price based on what they provide. It's not something that we send out to 2 or 3 state vetted contractors and get a competitive bid where we're having companies bid against one another.
That's correct. You don't competitively bid state contractors against state contractors when they get a cooperative purchasing agreement. So it's something similar to let's say a vehicle that you're looking to purchase. So if you want a pickup truck, well, you can, state bid will have a Chevy dealer that offers the 1500. They'll have a Ford dealer that has the F-150. They'll have a Dodge dealer that offers, so
I see.
You then are not required to select the Chevy. If you want a Dodge, you can pick a Dodge. similar with the furniture manufacturer and sales service company like Bradford Systems. So they offer more than one product, but as staying consistent with what we've purchased going back to 2016, we have the same manufacturer that they have the agreement with that they work through, and then the product that they supply. And that state bid, that cooperative purchasing agreement, again, is vetted by the state. They have the approved contractors that then allows municipalities, school districts, any entity, you don't have to then go reinvent the wheel and request pricing from 10 or 15 different vendors, because that's already been done.
You're just ordering already approved products.
That's correct.
Right.
Who did the interior design layout with each of the staff?
So that was myself and Kurt Rogers, the lead sales rep.
Okay.
Good questions. Good questions. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to. I'm gonna become a better friend of Lieutenant Flanagan. You spent a lot more on him than you did the chief.
He's got a bigger office, so
we won't let the chief know that.
Yeah, and then
I can tell the chief. He knows my son.
Some of the
what happens to the existing furniture?
Pardon me?
What happens to the existing furniture that's being replaced?
The existing furniture is in extremely bad shape. It will be stored down in the basement, and we'll make a decision on what we're going to do with it later. It's from 1987 when the building was built. I think it's the original furniture. So it's not in good shape. I don't know if we could. If we can resell it, we will resell it, but I don't know that it would.
They'll charge you to take it away.
Yeah.
You might try Restore over there behind Sam's.
Yeah. It's not in good shape. That's for sure.
Well, Restore doesn't do a lot of office furniture as much. It's more home.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So the one thing I guess maybe to note for some of the commissioners that haven't been in, the biggest change that we're doing to any of the spaces is on page 218. It's the Detective Bureau. So we are going to be adding an additional workstation so that our either iOS or DARE officer has a space. We're also going to be installing what you don't see on 219 will be some storage cabinets that they'll be able to use for files and equipment and jackets and clothing. So that's the probably the biggest change or upgrade that we're doing in any of the offices.
Good question. Go ahead, John. John?
Oh, no, I just said it looks good. I mean, I don't, I'm just scrolling through the layout and it looks fine. I don't, the only other way you could do something like this is if you wanted to, but I think this probably makes all the sense in the world since you don't do this that often. I mean, golly, you could get like hire a design person and they could go out and bid stuff, this furniture stuff at the marts and places like that, office bin. And, you could potentially maybe get a better deal or that, but no, I don't think it's even worth it for how seldom you do this stuff. Sounds like a good deal. It's what I'm just talking to myself.
This is the last area in the municipal center building that is due for an upgrade. The Board of Aldermen chambers had the additional door and the modifications to the dais done. I think that was in 17 or 16 as well. The community room has been new walls, lighting, upgrades, all of the administrative offices. So this section, the conference room and the admin area of PD are the last areas besides the city administrator and the mayor's office are the only other two areas that haven't been done. So, you know, we've looked, and in most cases, when we do these interior remodels, we try to bid them out without engaging in a design professional, so it doesn't cut into the overhead as much for design work, and we can put more into the nuts and bolts.
Sure.
So we're, you know, having an architect or an interior designer come on board, we feel it, we'd be better spent, you know, putting it into the finishes and the end product.
Sure, sure.
Any more discussion? Any questions?
Nope.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or
Yes, for Bob.
yes for Bob. All right, so it's approved and recommended.
Okay.
I want to just reiterate, obviously, we're in, you know, just a unprecedented time, and obviously budget is important. So I know Bob Shelton and Pam Rates are looking at it on a daily basis. And so us having this ready gives them the options to make decisions and choose, okay, hey, this will work. You know, we can move this forward while we're waiting on other things to determine, or if we need to delay projects. They having all this approved gives them the ability to kind of plan effectively, not just with the projects themselves, but trying to figure out how to put things in from a finance standpoint or hold things up from a finance standpoint. So thank you all there. So commissioners, obviously this is an unusual meeting, and I appreciate it. I know we're missing some of our meeting banter, but I just think I really always appreciate your time and everything. We're kind of moving forward, and Tim, and Laura and Fire Marshal, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Do we have any other
Nice job.
items or any other new business or anything else? I know we don't have any new business on the agenda.
Question, how is the election going to be handled or whatever?
That's still in to be determined. Obviously, it was moved to early June, so I don't have specifics on that, Dave. I can have Ashley or someone from the staff send something to you if need be, but it's right now it's just a new date, and it's still going to be in person, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I'm just curious. We're not hearing anything at all, you know.
Understood.
Not new business, but I'm just curious as far as the tax revenue that the city is taking in, say for March, what are we looking at? What type of shortcoming?
So as of right now, they're planning for the worst and hoping for the best. Bob Shelton and like Pam are doing weekly calculations and looking at it. Some of it is lagging, so you don't see it right away. So we don't have the whole predictive model yet. One encouraging sign I would tell you is we have a lot of our big box stores still open. We have Target, we have Schnucks, we have Whole Foods, we have
Home Depot,
we have Home Depot, we have Total Wine. So that's helpful. And I don't know, you know, from that standpoint, but they're working on it. I don't have those exact numbers. I have the first draft, and they're still working on that from that.
Are you at liberty to say, are we at 20, 30, 40%?
So right now, I don't, it's historical. I'm not really at liberty to, you know, I'd be giving you a educated guess that they're working on, that we're, you know, from last week from that standpoint. So, but they're going to be down.
Yeah.
As a city, just to remind everyone, is we don't charge a city property tax. We only collect on sales tax and then the other funding that comes in from county government.
So as with everybody else, I'm sure 2021, we're going to see, and going forward, potentially some cuts in the services that are offered.
Yeah, so that's why right now it's planning and
right.
You know, and that's why having these ready to go, none of these POs or these won't go in front of the board. Some might not go for a couple months. Some might go quicker, but we just have to take it day by day.
So one of the encouraging things I think for the city, or I don't know, encouraging is the right word, is the majority of what we do, because we have such a lean staff, is all contracts. We contract out, and as you know from tonight's agenda, everything on it other than the building code is contracts. So if we see that that financial impact on the sales tax dollars, and we need to rein in, we can do that through contracts. We can defer some maintenance for a year or two, and we are in good shape as far as our infrastructure goes. Our roads are in really, really good shape. And part of that is the product that this commission has done, and how we keep up on it annually with maintenance. So we have some flexibility to, again, tighten the belt on some of the contracts, defer some things, which in a situation like this is paramount.
Yeah, Tony, the only thing I would add, I just recalled Bob Shelton had mentioned that the Marriott, obviously the sales tax from the Marriott is way down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one major thing that I, as we talked to, like the bigger items in there. So, okay. So, well, I appreciate, right now I would plan for a virtual May, more than likely, just for better safe than sorry from that standpoint, and where we are with the stay-at-home order. But if you guys, again, going back to the code, as Laura gets that out, the quicker we get back to her, the more questions we are, the more prepared for the May meeting. So
Okay.
we have a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
All right, Bob, and then George. So I would like to say thank you all for you hopping on, some of you for training in the Zoom product, and then overall just stay safe and be well, and we'll see you in May.
You too, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.